I wake to nothing. For a moment, I think I am dead. Not because there is pain. Death, I imagine, would be kinder than pain. It is the absence of it that scares me. The empty space behind my ribs, the quiet where a wound used to breathe, the place where Drake Evers lived inside me for years like a ghost with teeth. Nothing pulls, nothing aches, nothing whispers his name through my blood. I lie still in the narrow bed, staring up at the cracked ceiling of my rented room, and wait for grief to become something I recognize. It does. It always does. Freedom, I am learning, is not light. It is silence. And silence can be cruel when you have spent years listening for someone you were never supposed to want again. Outside, the town of Briar Glen is waking up. Tires hiss over wet pavement. Somewhere below my window, Mrs. Lacey unlocks the front door of the bakery and starts swearing at the old coffee machine like it owes her money. A delivery truck groans at the curb. Human sounds. Ordinary sounds. Safe sounds. I chose this place because no one here knows me. No one looks at me and sees an alpha's missing mate. No one whispers abandoned or traitor or the woman who broke him. No one knows I once stood under a moon and helped tear fate out of my own chest. Here, I am Rachel Underwood. Just Rachel. No false last name, no forged papers, no suppressants hidden in vitamin bottles, no charms sewn into my coat lining until the seams scratched my wrists raw. For the first time in years, I signed a lease with my real name. I thought that would feel like victory. Instead, most mornings, it feels like standing in a house after a storm and realizing the roof is still gone. My wolf stirs beneath my skin. Not fully. Not the way she used to before everything broke. She is thinner now, quieter, cautious in the way wounded things are cautious. But she is there, alive, watching the world through my eyes. I press a hand to my chest. "Good morning," I whisper. She does not answer in words. She never has, but she lifts her head inside me, and that is enough to make my throat tighten. There was a time I thought I had killed her. The suppressants had been necessary. That was what I told myself when they burned down my throat and left me shaking over motel sinks. Necessary. The charms too. The distance. The lies. The lonely human life with its cheap coffee and locked windows. Necessary. That word has excused so many terrible things. I sit up slowly. My braids slide over one shoulder, loose from sleep, and I catch my reflection in the small mirror nailed crooked above the dresser. Warm brown skin, dark eyes with too much memory in them, full lips pressed together like I am still holding back words years too late. I look alive. That feels like betrayal some days. Drake is alive too. I know because Mason sent one message 3 weeks after the severing. He survived. 2 words. No details. No pressure. No request. I read it until the screen blurred. Then I threw the phone across the room, crawled after it 5 minutes later, and read it again. He survived. So did I. That was supposed to be the mercy. I get dressed because lying in bed with grief is how grief starts thinking it owns the place. Jeans, sweater, boots, a scarf wrapped around my hair because the rain has already made the air heavy. I no longer dress to hide my scent from wolves, but habits do not die just because the magic does. Downstairs, the bakery smells like cinnamon, butter, and burnt coffee. Mrs. Lacey looks up from behind the counter, her silver curls pinned badly and flour dusting the front of her apron. "You look like you fought your pillow and lost," she says. "I won on points." She snorts. "You want the usual?" "Depends. Did the coffee lose its fight too?" "Don't get smart with me before 7. That sounds like a yes. She pours me a cup anyway. This is what my life is now. Small jokes, warm bread, rain on windows. Work at the register 3 days a week because Mrs. Lacey says I have a face people trust and a mouth that keeps thieves nervous. She does not ask about family. I do not offer lies. It works. Mostly. I spend the morning selling muffins to construction workers and pretending I do not notice every dark truck that passes. I spend lunch walking the edge of town, where the road bends toward the trees, testing how close I can get before my wolf begins to tremble. The forest no longer terrifies me. That is new. For years, trees meant full moons and instincts, and Drake's scent lodged so deep in my memory I could taste it. Now the woods only smell like wet bark, moss, and cold earth. Still, when wind moves through the branches, I think of him. Not because the bond makes me, because I remember. That is worse in some ways. The bond had been a command, a holy, cursed thing that dragged truth out of us, whether we wanted it or not. Without it, love should have faded into something manageable. It has not. It has only become mine. My choice. My ache. My stupid, stubborn heart refusing to learn when fate finally stopped helping it ruin me. By evening, rain turns the street silver. I close for Mrs. Lacey and carry the trash out back, humming under my breath because quiet invites too many ghosts. Then my wolf goes still, not afraid, alert. I stop with one hand on the dumpster lid. A man stands at the end of the alley. Broad shoulders, dark jacket, familiar stillness. For half a second, my heart forgets how to be reasonable. Drake. But no, not him. Mason steps beneath the weak yellow light over the bakery's back door, and the breath leaves me in a slow, angry rush. He looks the same, and not the same. Bigger somehow. Or maybe I have forgotten what pack wolves feel like when they are not memories. His hair is shorter. There are tired lines around his mouth. His hands remain where I can see them. Smart man. Mason? I say. Rachel? My name in his voice opens a door I thought I had locked. I set the trash bag down carefully. If he sent you, turn around. Mason does not flinch. He didn't send me to bring you back. That isn't what I said. No, he says quietly, but it is what you meant. I hate that he is right. Rain ticks against the metal fire escape above us. Somewhere inside the bakery, the old refrigerator kicks on with a shudder. I fold my arms. Why are you here? Mason's gaze drops for a moment. And I know. Before he says a word, I know something has gone wrong. My body remembers bad news. The shape of it. The weight. The way men lower their voices before handing you a knife and calling it truth. Is Drake alive? I ask. His eyes snap back to mine. Yes. The answer hits so hard my knees almost forget their job. I hate myself for needing it. He's alive, Mason says again, gentler this time. For the first time in years, he is not dying. I swallow around the ache rising in my throat. Then why are you here? Mason takes one step closer, then stops when my shoulders tighten. Good. He sees it. He respects it. That matters more than I want it to. There is a couple in the pack, he says. Kellen and Imani, newly bonded, 3 months, maybe less. My wolf presses forward. I already do not like this story. Mason's jaw works once. He collapsed yesterday after she touched him. The alley tilts. Not really. But my body does not know the difference. I see Drake on the floor again, blood under his nose, his skin damp with fever, his hand reaching for me even as the bond ate him alive. No, 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 no. Mason keeps talking, each word worse than the last. At first we thought sickness, then poison, but when she got close he weakened again. Tremors, blood, pain in the chest. Stop! He does. I turn away from him, pressing both hands to my mouth. Rainwater slides down the back of my neck. Cold, real, present, not memory. Not then, now. Another woman is learning the horror of becoming dangerous to the man she loves. Another man is learning that wanting can feel like dying. How bad? I ask. Bad enough that Drake recognized it. His name hurts less without the bond. It still hurts. I look back at Mason. And what does Drake want from me? The question comes out sharper than I intend. Mason accepts it like he deserves worse. He told me not to ask you for him. My chest tightens. What? He said if I came, it had to be for them, not him. He said you were free, and no one had the right to turn that into another cage. I stare at him. For a moment I do not understand the words. They sound like Drake, and not like Drake at all. The Drake I left would have torn the world open to find me. The Drake who found me did. But this man, this impossible version, sent Mason with truth instead of command. Something in me cracks where I thought there was nothing left to break. Mason's voice lowers. Rachel, I wouldn't be here if there was another choice. There is always another choice. Yes, he says. That is why I'm asking. Not ordering. Asking. Damn him for that. Damn Drake too. Damn them both for learning kindness when it is hardest to refuse. I look toward the street, toward my rented room above the bakery, toward the small life I have barely begun to build. The life with no suppressants, no running, no bond, no Drake's pain in my blood. I could stay. I have earned staying. I have earned a quiet morning and a locked door, and the right not to bleed for anyone else's tragedy. But then I think of Imani, a woman I have never met. I think of her hand hovering over the man she loves, afraid to touch him. I think of the first time I pulled away from Drake because love left blood on his mouth. No one should have to learn that fear alone. Not if I can help, not if what happened to us was not finished. I close my eyes. My wolf rises. Weak, yes. Scarred, yes. But she rises. And for the first time in a very long time, she does not want to hide. When do we leave? I ask. Mason exhales like he has been holding his breath since he found me. Now, if you're willing. I'm not willing. I step past him toward the back door. I'm angry. That counts. No, I say, looking over my shoulder. It'll have to. It takes me 7 minutes to pack. 1 bag, 2 changes of clothes, toothbrush, wallet, the little silver charm I no longer wear but cannot throw away. No suppressants, no hidden vials, no fake documents tucked under the lining. I pause at the dresser and look at the room that was supposed to become a life. Then I turn off the lamp. Downstairs, Mason waits by the car with the passenger door unopened, leaving the choice visible. I almost laugh. Drake really did send him, not the old Drake. This one, the one who let silence exist without trying to conquer it. I step into the rain. The night smells like wet pavement, cinnamon from the bakery, and the far-off promise of pine. No bond pulls me toward the road ahead. No fate opens its mouth. I walk anyway.
I used to think dying would be loud. Claws through bone, blood in my mouth, my wolf howling himself raw against the end. It wasn't. Dying had sounded like Rachel's name. Living, somehow, is quieter. I stand at the window of my office, while the pack wakes beneath a grey morning, watching smoke curl from chimneys and patrols move between the trees. The territory breathes around me. Pine, wet earth, wolves, home. I should feel it in my chest the way I used to. Pride, possession, power. Instead, there is an empty place beneath my ribs where the bond used to live. Not pain, not anymore, just absence. A room after someone has taken all the furniture and left the dust behind. My wolf sits inside me like a wounded king, eyes open, body still. He does not rage. He does not claw at my skin. He does not search the distance for her scent until I bleed from holding him back. That should be mercy. Some mornings it feels like punishment. Rachel is alive somewhere beyond my borders. Rachel is free. I repeat it every day because if I do not, the old part of me starts making plans. Trackers, cars, commands. Mine. That word has destroyed enough. A knock sounds at the office door. Come, I say. Mason enters with a stack of patrol reports under one arm, and the same careful expression everyone wears around me now, like I'm a glass blade, still sharp but one wrong touch from shattering. You have counsel in 10, he says. I know. You've been standing there for an hour. I know that too. He says nothing. That is why Mason is still alive. Most men would try to comfort me. Worse, they would try to explain Rachel to me, as if grief is a wild dog that can be trained with enough words. Mason only sets the reports on my desk. She still hasn't contacted you? He asks. My fingers tighten on the edge of the windowsill. No. Do you want me to? No. He stops. The word leaves me too hard. Too alpha. I turn from the window and force my hands open. No, I say again softer. She does not owe me proof that she is healing. Mason studies me for a long moment. Then he nods. She saved your life. Yes. She might not know what to do with hers now. Neither do I almost say. But I am alpha. I do not get to collapse just because the woman I love finally stopped being dragged under by my curse. So I walk into council with my spine straight and the dead bond silent in my chest. The room falls quiet when I enter. It always does. Before Rachel left, silence meant fear. After she left, it meant caution. Now, after the severing, it means no one knows what I am anymore. That makes all of us. Elder Carrick sits at the far end of the table, long fingers folded over the head of his cane. His hair is silver, his eyes sharp, his loyalty old enough to have rotted in places no one wants to look at. We should discuss the matter of your former mate, he says before I have fully taken my seat. Mason stills beside me. The other council members lower their eyes. I sit slowly. No. Carrick's mouth tightens. Alpha, the pack deserves clarity. Rachel Underwood's disappearance, her return, then this severing ritual. Rachel Underwood is not a council matter. She was to be Luna. She was dying in a different way than I was, I say. The room goes so quiet I hear someone swallow. Carrick leans back. With respect, many here remember the damage done when she abandoned you. My wolf lifts his head. For one breath the old Drake is there, the one who would have broken the table in half, the one who would have let rage call itself justice, the one Rachel had every reason to run from, even without death between us. I breathe through it. Then I stand. Every wolf in the room lowers their gaze. Listen carefully, I say. Rachel did not abandon me because she lacked loyalty. She left because the bond was killing me. She broke herself in silence so I could keep breathing. She carried your hatred because it was easier for this pack to blame a woman than admit none of us knew how to save our alpha. No one moves. My voice drops, and the power in it rolls across the walls. Not wild, not uncontrolled, certain. You will not call her traitor. You will not call her coward. You will not speak of her like she was the wound when she was the hand holding it closed. Carrick's nostrils flare. Good. Let him hate truth if he wants. If anyone in this pack has a debt, I continue, it is to her. Mason looks at me, something almost like pride in his eyes. I look away before it can cut too deep. Council ends badly, or maybe it ends exactly as it should. By noon everyone knows what I said. By afternoon half the pack cannot look at me. By evening the other half cannot look at themselves. I am crossing the training field when Kellen laughs. The sound catches me because it is young and stupid and happy. I turn. He stands near the water barrels with Imani tucked against his side, her coiled hair pulled back from her face, one hand resting over his chest, like she cannot help checking that his heart is still there. Newly bonded wolves are insufferable, always touching, always glowing with it, always smelling like moonlight and heat and forever. Once that scent would have made my wolf tear himself open. Now it only makes something old ache. Kellen bends to whisper something against Imani's ear. She shoves his shoulder, laughing, and he grins like the world has never had teeth. Then she reaches up and touches his face. Kellen's smile vanishes. His knees buckle. I am moving before anyone screams. He hits the ground hard, one hand clawing at his chest. Blood slips from his nose, dark against his upper lip. His body jerks once, twice, like something inside him is trying to rip free. Kellen, Imani drops beside him. No, I bark. then catch myself when she flinches. Too late, too hard. I lower my voice, but my command holds. Imani, don't touch him. Her eyes go wide with terror. He's my mate. I know. You don't understand. I do. The words leave me raw. She freezes. I kneel beside Kellen. His pulse hammers under my fingers, too fast, then too weak. His skin is clammy. The scent of blood rises, and underneath it bond, burning. Sick, my stomach turns. No, not again. Kellen's eyes roll toward Imani. His hand reaches for her, even as his body tries to shut down. Don't, I say, because I know what reaching costs. Imani makes a sound that is not a sob yet. It is what comes before one, the body gathering itself around a break. Healer Lisa runs from the infirmary with 2 wolves behind her. Mason appears at my side, face grim. What happened? He asks. I stare at Kellen's blood on my fingers. I know this. Mason's expression changes. He looks at Imani, at the way she has curled her hands against her own chest, like they have become weapons. And he understands too. We get Kellen to the infirmary. Imani follows, shaking so hard one of the younger wolves tries to steady her. She jerks away from him. Don't touch me, she whispers. What if it spreads? What if I hurt him again? The words punch through my ribs. I see Rachel, not as she was the last time, standing beneath moonlight with tears in her eyes, and goodbye already carved into her bones. Before that, all the little moments I had been too angry to understand. Her stepping back when I reached for her, her refusing my hand, her flinching when my pain answered her love. I had thought she was denying me. She had been trying not to kill me. Lisa examines Kellen for nearly an hour. Every time Imani comes too close, his pulse stutters. Every time she backs away, he steadies. Not enough, never enough, but enough to prove the cruelty of it. When Liza finally steps into the hall, her face tells me she has no answers. I can treat the symptoms, she says. I cannot treat the cause. Mason looks at me. I do not want him to say it. He does anyway. Rachel survived this. My jaw locks. No. Drake, no. The hall goes still under the weight of my voice. I take one breath, then another. Not anger, fear. There are some names that become prayers if you are not careful. Rachel's has lived too long in my mouth that way. Mason lowers his voice. I am not saying drag her back. I will not use her. No one said use. She paid enough for me. This is not for you. That silences me. Through the infirmary door, I hear Imani crying quietly while trying not to. I hear Kellen's ragged breathing. I hear the echo of a past I cannot change, and a future already opening its jaws. Mason is right. I hate him for it. I look toward the closed door. Another mate is learning that love can become a blade. Another woman is staring at her hands and wondering how something meant for tenderness turned into a threat. Rachel would understand that. More than anyone. And that is exactly why I have no right to ask. But Kellen is dying. I close my eyes. For a moment, I let myself imagine her life wherever she is. Quiet room. Real name. No suppressants. No pack staring at her like she owes them blood. Maybe she sleeps through the night now. Maybe she laughs. Maybe her wolf is healing. Maybe she has almost learned how not to think of me. Then I open my eyes. Mason. He straightens. Find her. His face tightens with relief and worry both. But listen to me, I say. You do not ask her for me. I know. No, you don't. I step closer. If she says no, you come home. If she tells you to leave, you leave. You do not mention what I want. You do not use guilt. You do not make her freedom feel like another cage. Mason nods slowly. I force the next words past my teeth. Ask her for them. His throat works once. Then he says, "I'll leave within the hour." When he is gone, I go back into the infirmary. Imani sits in the corner farthest from the bed, arms wrapped around herself. Kellen turns his head toward her, even unconscious. The bond is still trying. That is the worst part. Love keeps reaching, even when reaching kills. I stand between them and do nothing because there is nothing to do yet. Night comes heavy. Rain starts sometime after midnight, tapping against the pack house windows. I do not sleep. I sign patrol orders. I check on Kellen. I listen for messages that do not come. By dawn, Mason is still gone. By afternoon, Kellen worsens. By evening, I find myself at the northern border. Not because I feel Rachel. I don't. There is no thread humming beneath my skin. No warning in my blood. No pull dragging my wolf toward the road. There is only rain, pine, and the punishment of choice. If she does not come, I will not blame her. I repeat that until the words taste like iron. If she does not come, I will protect that too. Headlights appear between the trees. My wolf rises. Not violently. Not with the old claim. Just awake. The car rolls to a stop beyond the boundary stones. Mason gets out first. He looks at me over the roof, and I read the answer on his face before the passenger door opens. Then Rachel steps into the rain. For a second, the world forgets to move. She is wrapped in a dark coat, scarf holding back her braids, brown skin warmed by the gold spill of the headlights. Her eyes find mine across the distance, guarded and tired and alive. There is no bond, no fate, no mine, but my heart knows her anyway. I do not move, I do not reach. I stand at the border with my hands at my sides and let the choice remain hers. Rachel, I say. Her name comes out like a wound, learning how to be a word again.
Drake says my name, and everything in me answers except fate. That is the cruel part. There is no snap beneath my ribs, no invisible thread pulling me across the wet road, no command in my blood, no wolf throwing herself against my skin with the old desperate cry of mine. There is only him, standing at the border in the rain with his hands at his sides, dark hair damp, golden eyes fixed on me like he is afraid one wrong breath might send me running. He does not move toward me. That almost hurts more than if he had. Mason shuts the driver's door behind me but says nothing. Smart man. This moment has too many ghosts in it already. I look at the boundary stones half buried in moss and mud. Once, crossing onto Drake's land felt like entering the center of my own heart. Then it became a cage, then a battlefield. Now it is just a line in the earth, waiting to see what I choose. So I step over it. Drake's jaw tightens, not in anger, restraint. "Thank you for coming," he says. "I'm not here for you. I know." The answer is too quiet, too steady, too unlike the man who once would have turned those words into a wound and bled all over both of us. I hate that I notice. I lift my chin. "Do you?" His eyes hold mine through the rain. I'm trying to. My wolf stirs, cautious and wary. She remembers him as safety. She remembers him as danger. She does not know what to do with a Drake Evers who waits, neither do I. "I have terms," I say. "Name them." No hesitation. That nearly knocks me off balance, but I keep my face still. "I help Kellen and Imani. That is why I'm here. I do not stay in your house." Done. "I am not guarded unless I agree to it." Done. "No council meetings about where I go or who I speak to." His mouth hardens at the word council. Done. "I am not Luna." Something moves across his face then. Pain, maybe. Memory. But he nods. Done. "And you do not touch me unless I say yes." The rain seems to hush between us. Drake lowers his gaze for 1 second, not in submission, but like the words deserve the weight of being heard. Then he looks back at me. Done. I almost laugh because there is nothing funny about this. No argument? No. Why? His throat works once. Because your safety does not have to look like my control anymore. The words land so softly they bruise. I look away first. Mason clears his throat behind me. Kellen's in the infirmary. Good. A task. A reason to move. A place to put my hands besides over my chest where my heart is making a fool of me. I follow them through the pack grounds, feeling eyes in every window. The pack remembers me. Of course they do. Whispers move faster than footsteps. I catch pieces beneath the rain. Rachel. Her. She came back. Drake says nothing until a young wolf near the porch mutters something I cannot make out but feel anyway. Drake stops. The entire yard stops with him. Careful, he says. One word. No roar. No threat. Just alpha. The young wolf drops his gaze so fast I hear his breath catch. I should hate the protection. Part of me does. Another part, the part that spent years being blamed in rooms where Drake's grief spoke louder than my sacrifice, stands a little straighter. The infirmary smells like antiseptic, blood, herbs and fear. Fear has a scent, bitter, metallic, young when it comes from someone who has not learned how long terror can last. Imani sits in the far corner of the room, knees pulled to her chest, hands locked together so tightly her knuckles strain. Her coiled hair is gathered back from her face, and her warm brown skin glows with feverish worry under the lamplight. She looks at me like she already knows I am the shape of her worst future. On the bed, Kellen sleeps badly. No, not sleeps. Endures. His body trembles under the blanket. A line of dried blood stains the skin beneath his nose. Every few breaths, his chest jerks like something inside him is pulling too hard. I stop at the foot of the bed. The past opens its mouth. Drake on the floor. Drake bleeding. Drake reaching for me while I backed away with my own heart breaking in my hands. I grip the metal bed frame until it bites my palm. Imani watches me. They said you know what this is. I know what it feels like, I say. That is not the same as knowing what it is. Her lips tremble. Did you hurt him? The question is so naked I cannot resent it. I thought I did. Her eyes fill. My chest caves in a little. I thought loving him was killing him, I say, because lies would be cruelty here. I thought my touch was poison. I thought if I stayed away, he would live. Imani looks past me to Drake. I do not. I can feel him behind me, silent as stone. Did it work? She asks. For a while. That is the kindest answer I have. The door opens before she can ask anything else. Mara enters like weather. She is wrapped in a long black coat threaded with silver charms, her grey-streaked hair pinned with bone needles, eyes sharp enough to cut open secrets. The last time I saw her, moonlight was pouring over my skin and she was helping me tear my soul away from Drake's. Seeing her now makes my scars remember themselves. Rachel Underwood, she says. Mara. Her gaze flicks over me, then Drake, then the space between us where a bond used to live. I hate witches sometimes. She moves to Kellen's bedside without asking permission, because Mara has never believed permission applies to her when magic is bleeding in front of her. She opens a small leather case and withdraws a glass vial, a silver blade, and a length of red thread. Imani flinches. Mara's voice softens. I will not harm him, child. He gets worse when I touch him. I know. The old witch glances at me then. My stomach twists. She pricks Kellen's finger, smears one drop of blood along the red thread, and whispers words that make the lamps dim. The thread blackens. Imani makes a small broken sound. Drake steps closer to the bed, then stops before he reaches me. I notice. I wish I did not. Mara's mouth tightens. This is not simple bond sickness. No, Drake says. It's what happened to us. Similar, Mara says, but stronger, hungrier. The room shrinks. I force the question out. How? Mara lifts the blackened thread. It curls like a dead worm in her palm. When we severed your bond, we cut off what was feeding through it. We did not kill the thing itself. My blood goes cold. The curse survived? Drake asks. Something survived. Mara's eyes narrow. And now it has found another bond to eat. Imani presses both hands over her mouth. Kellen whispers her name in his fever. The sound ruins me. By the time Mara finishes her examination, the rain has stopped and night presses itself against the windows. They give me a guest cabin at the edge of the compound because I refuse the pack house before anyone can offer it. It is small. 1 room, 1 bed, 1 fireplace. No memories. That helps. Not enough. I am staring into the unlit hearth when someone knocks. 1 knock, then silence. He does not open the door. I close my eyes. Come in. Drake steps inside but stays near the threshold. Of course he does. Do you need anything? He asks. Less staring from your pack? I'll handle it. Don't make it worse. A pause. I'll handle it carefully. That almost makes me smile. Almost. He looks tired in the low light. Not dying, not hollowed out by pain. Just tired in a way I never let myself imagine he might be allowed to be. I'm sorry, he says. The words come with no warning. I go still. Drake does not move closer. Not because I want something from you. Not because you came back. I should have said it before, and I said pieces of it, but not enough. My throat tightens. He looks at the floor between us. I was so trapped in what losing you did to me that I did not ask what leaving did to you. I fold my arms because if I do not hold myself together, I may not stay that way. You kept asking why I left, I say. You never asked what it cost me. I know. His voice breaks on the second word. I should have. There is no defense after that. No explanation. No alpha trying to bend the truth until it kneels for him. Just a man standing in a doorway with regret in his hands. I cross the room before I can think better of it. Drake goes still. I stop close enough to see the gold in his eyes shift. Are you afraid to touch me? I ask. Yes. The honesty steals my breath. Because you think I'll hurt you? No. His hand flexes at his side. Because I'm afraid I'll forget I don't have the right. Something inside me aches. Not the bond. Me. I look down at his hand. Give it to me, I whisper. His eyes close for half a second. Then he lifts his hand slowly, offering it palm up, letting me decide the rest. My fingers settle against his. Warm. Solid. Alive. We both freeze. I wait for blood. Pain. That terrible ripping inside my chest. Drake waits too. I feel it in the tension of his hand beneath mine. Nothing comes. No curse. No collapse. No bond waking hungry between us. Just skin. Just warmth. Just a choice neither of us knows how to hold yet. Drake looks at our joined hands like he is seeing moonlight for the first time. Rachel, he breathes. Outside, somewhere across the darkened compound, Kellen cries out in his sleep, and I do not let go.
Kellen's cry tears through the dark, and Rachel's fingers tighten around mine. For one impossible second I cannot move. Her hand is in my hand, warm, real, alive. No blood fills my mouth. No weakness drops me to my knees. No curse hooks itself beneath my ribs and pulls. Nothing hurts. That should not feel like a miracle, but it does. Then Kellen cries out again. Rachel looks toward the door, and I force my hand open. I do not hold her. I do not trap even her fingers. She looks down at the choice I give her. Then she keeps her hand in mine for one more breath before letting go. Come on, she says. We run. By the time we reach the infirmary, Imani is on the floor outside Kellen's room, with Mason holding her back by standing in front of her, not touching. Her hands are pressed to her own chest, like she is afraid they might betray her again. He called for me, she says, voice breaking. He called for me, and I can't go to him. Rachel stops beside her. I think she might say something soft, something comforting. She doesn't. She kneels in front of Imani and says, I know. Those two words do what all my power cannot. Imani looks at her and breaks. Inside the room, Kellen thrashes against the cot. Blood slicks his upper lip. His body bows as if an invisible chain has hooked through his spine. Mara stands over him, one palm hovering above his chest, her mouth moving around words too old for my ears to hold. The lamps flicker. The shadows in the corners stretch long and hungry. What changed? I ask. Mara does not look away from Kellen. It felt us looking. My wolf stills. What does that mean? It means, she says, whatever survived your severing does not like being named. Rachel rises slowly behind me. I feel her before I look at her. No bond, no thread, just awareness. Mara lowers her hand, and Kellen collapses back against the mattress, breathing like every inhale is being stolen from somewhere else. We need records, Mara says. You have access to the healer archives, Mason says. Not those. Mara's eyes cut to mine. Bloodline records, Ever's records. The ones your elders keep locked beneath the council chamber and pretend are only ceremonial. The room goes quiet. Rachel looks at me. There was a time I would have heard accusation in that look even if none existed. Now I only see exhaustion. Fear. A question she has earned the right to ask. How many secrets did your family bury inside my suffering? I turn to Mason. Open the vault. He does not hesitate. Carrick will object. Let him. He may call it sacrilege. The laugh that leaves me has no humor in it. Then tonight I offend the dead. The vault beneath the council chamber smells like dust, iron, and things wolves were not meant to forget. Mason carries the lantern. Mara walks ahead like she already knows where the ugliest truth will be hidden. Rachel stays beside me, close enough that my wolf notices, far enough that I understand the distance is hers. I do not close it. Rows of old ledgers line the stone shelves. Births, deaths, alpha successions, mating vows, territory wars. The history of my blood written by men who believed naming a thing made it righteous. Carrick arrives before Mara breaks the first lock. Of course he does. His cane strikes the stone floor once. Alpha, these records are not for outsiders. Rachel's chin lifts. My anger moves so fast I nearly taste it. She is not an outsider to what those records did to her, I say. Carrick's gaze hardens. You do not know that they did anything. Mara snaps the lock with one whispered word. Then let us all be educated, she says. Carrick says nothing after that, but he stays. I notice. Mara pulls a narrow book from the back of the shelf. Its leather cover has cracked with age, and the Ever's crest is burned into the front, a wolf beneath a black moon. My stomach turns before she opens it. Rachel wraps her arms around herself. I want to reach for her. I don't. Mara reads in silence at first. The longer she reads, the deeper the lines around her mouth become. What? I ask. Her eyes lift to mine. For the first time since I've known her, Mara looks almost sorry. Alaric Evers, she says, first alpha of this territory. He made a bargain during the Northern Blood Wars. His enemies were stronger, his pack was starving, his mate was dying. Carrick's jaw tightens. I look at him. You knew name. Every alpha knows the name of his line's founder. Not like that. Mara keeps reading. He asked for power strong enough to make his bloodline unbreakable. The thing that answered him did not give freely. It never does. Rachel's voice is low. What was the price? Mara's fingers still on the page. Love. The word lands like a blade dropped between us. Mara looks at me. Not affection, not loyalty, love. True mate bonds in the Evers bloodline could be opened as channels. Strength would flow through them. Pain, life, devotion. The deeper the love, the wider the wound. My hands curl at my sides. No. Yes, Mara says softly. The curse does not feed on weakness. It feeds on attachment, sacrifice, need. It uses the strongest bonds because they burn the hottest. Rachel takes one step back. I hear it. The small scrape of her boot against the stone. I turn to her. Her face has gone still in that terrible way she has when feeling too much would split her open. Her brown skin glows warm in the lantern light. But her eyes are somewhere else. Years away. A motel bathroom. A bottle of suppressants. A woman swallowing poison so the man she loved could breathe. I feel sick. You and Rachel were not dying because your bond was broken, Mara says. You were dying because your bond was powerful. It became the curse's favorite meal. My wolf surges with rage. Not at Rachel, never at Rachel. At the men in these walls, at the blood in my veins, at every elder who taught me pride while hiding rot beneath it. Carrick says, this is speculation. The lantern flame bends toward him. Mara smiles without warmth. Then speculate on this. She turns the page. There are markings there, old circles, threaded moons, a wolf jaw open around two joined hands. Rachel makes a sound so small I almost miss it. I do not. I will never miss her pain that carelessly again. That was on the severing stones, she says. Mara nods, because the ritual we used did not create the wound. It found the shape of the old one and cut around it. My throat tightens. We didn't destroy the curse. No, Mara says. You starved it. And now it found Kellen. Mason's voice is grim. Kellen carries Ever's blood through his mother's line, Mara says. Distant, but enough. And Imani loves him fiercely enough to make the channel easy. Rachel closes her eyes. I cannot breathe. Not because the curse is taking from me, because the truth is. Later I leave before I break something no apology can fix. The night air outside the pack house is cold and wet from earlier rain. I stand near the edge of the training field, staring at the dark tree line until the world blurs into shadow. My hands still feel like they should be covered in blood. Hers. Mine. All the years between. You spent years thinking you were poison, I say when I hear her behind me, because my bloodline was cursed. Rachel does not answer right away. She comes to stand beside me, not touching. I spent years thinking if I loved you less, you would live longer. The words go through me clean. I bow my head. I let you believe it. You didn't know. I should have known enough to believe you were hurting too. The silence between us is not empty. It is full of everything we survived badly. Rachel turns toward me. Drake. I look at her, and the rest of my restraint nearly goes with my breath. She is so close. No bond drags me forward. No fate commands my body. I want her anyway. That is somehow more terrifying. My voice roughens. Can I kiss you? Her eyes search mine. I stand still beneath it. Then she whispers, yes. I move slowly, giving her every chance to step away. She doesn't. When my mouth touches hers, the world does not split open. It softens. Rachel exhales against me, and I feel the sound in every scar I have. The kiss is careful at first. A question. A bruise pressed gently. Then her hand catches the front of my shirt, and careful becomes impossible. I kiss her deeper. She answers. No pain comes. No blood. No curse. Just Rachel, warm and trembling against me, choosing to stay in the shape of my arms. When my hand lifts toward her waist, I stop before touching. She notices. Her breath shudders. I want you. My whole body goes still. But I need to know this isn't just relief, she says. That we aren't reaching because we found out we can survive it. The old me would have argued. The old me would have taken hurt and made it accusation. I press my forehead gently to hers and lower my hand. Then we stop. Her fingers tighten in my shirt. Just like that. Just like that. Something in her expression breaks open, not with pain this time, but with something dangerously close to trust. "Thank you," she says. I want a world where she never had to thank me for stopping. I want to burn the one that taught her she should. Instead, I stand in the dark with her breath against my mouth and let wanting her be mine to carry, not hers to manage. Beyond the trees, the night shifts. Old blood. Ash. A curse that has finally been named. And somewhere beneath our feet, in the bones of my house, something ancient begins to wake.
Something ancient had woken beneath Drake's house. So had I. Not in the soft, pretty way people wrote about healing. Not like sunlight through curtains or flowers pushing through dirt. I woke like a woman gasping out of a grave, sweat cooling on my skin, one hand pressed to my chest, waiting for pain that never came. The cabin was dark, except for the low red glow of the dying fire. For a moment, I did not know where I was. Then I remembered. Briar Glen, Drake's territory. The curse, his mouth on mine, his hand stopping before it touched my waist because I had not given him permission. My body remembered that kiss with humiliating precision. The warmth of his breath, the rough sound in his throat when I pulled him closer, the way he had stopped when I asked him to. Just stopped. No punishment, no wounded pride, no making me responsible for what wanting me did to him. I sat up slowly and pushed both hands over my face. The dream clung to me. Not a nightmare, not exactly. Worse, a memory. Drake on his knees, blood on his lips. Me across the room shaking so hard I could barely stand, whispering, "Don't touch me, don't touch me, don't touch me," because every part of me wanted to run to him, and every part of him would have died if I had. I had spent so long treating desire like a loaded gun. My own hands had become dangerous to me. My love, my mouth, my body. I looked down at my palms in the firelight and flexed my fingers. Nothing happened. No bond flared, no curse answered, no invisible thread tightened around my ribs. Just me, just choice. And suddenly I was so damn tired of being afraid of wanting him. I got out of bed before I could talk myself into staying there. The floor was cold beneath my bare feet. I pulled on leggings, a sweater, and boots without lighting the lamp. My hair was loose around my shoulders, coils tangled from sleep, but I did not stop to fix it. There were some choices a woman had to make before fear got dressed too. Outside, the compound slept badly. I could feel it in the window still lit across the yard, in the patrols moving too often between the trees, in the low murmur of wolves pretending they were not scared. The rain had stopped, but the earth still smelled wet. Pine needles clung to mud. The moon hid behind broken clouds. Drake was not in the pack house. Somehow I knew he wouldn't be. I found him in the old guest cabin near the eastern tree line, the one usually kept for visiting alphas no one trusted enough to house near the main hall. A lantern burned inside. His shadow moved across the curtained window, broad and restless. I lifted my hand to knock. Before my knuckles touched wood, his voice came from inside. "Rachel?" Not Alpha, not command. Just my name, rough with no sleep. I opened the door. He stood near the small table, shirt untucked, dark hair a mess from his own hands. There were records spread across the table, pages marked in Mara's red ink. He looked like he had been trying to read his way out of guilt and failing. His golden eyes moved over me once, quick and worried. "Is Kellen?" "No." He went still. I stepped inside and shut the door behind me. The room seemed smaller with both of us in it. Warmer. Dangerous in a way that had nothing to do with magic. Drake did not move from the table. "What do you need?" he asked. The question almost broke me because he meant it. Not "why are you here?" Not "come closer." Not mine. "What do you need?" I walked toward him slowly. "You." His chest lifted with a careful breath. "Rachel." "If I ask you to touch me," I said, voice shaking but clear, "it is not because fate left me no choice." His eyes darkened. I kept going, because I needed the words outside my body before his hands were on it. "It is not because the bond is pulling me. It is not because my wolf is confused. It is not because I think this fixes everything. I know. No, let me say it." He nodded once. I swallowed. "I want you because I want you. Because I'm tired of remembering your hands like something that almost killed us. Because I want one memory where touch doesn't end with blood." Something in his face cracked open. Not weakness, devotion with nowhere safe to go. He came around the table slowly, stopping an arm's length away. "Then I'll only touch what you give me." My breath caught. That should not have been the most erotic thing any man had ever said to me. It was. I reached for him first. My hands closed around the front of his shirt, and I pulled him down to me. His mouth met mine with a restraint I could feel burning at the edges. He kissed like a man holding a storm between his teeth. I did not want restraint. Not all of it. I opened my mouth under his, and his control shuddered. "Can I touch your face?" he asked against my lips. "Yes." His hands rose, slow enough that I could stop them, then settled along my jaw. His thumbs brushed my cheeks. He looked at me as if I was something sacred, and I almost told him not to. I did not want to be sacred. I wanted to be alive. "More," I whispered. "Where?" God, he was going to make me say it. Good. Every stolen choice deserved to be reclaimed by name. My waist, my back, under my sweater. His hands obeyed exactly. When his palms slid under the fabric and found my skin, we both froze. Waiting. The old terror stood between us with its mouth open. 1 breath. 2. Nothing. No blood on his tongue, no pain in my ribs, no curse ripping pleasure into punishment. Drake's forehead dropped to mine. "Nothing," he said, voice wrecked. "Nothing," I answered. Then I dragged his shirt over his head. After that, careful became something else. Not careless. Never that, but hungry. His mouth moved down my throat, and I arched into him, stunned by the simple, vicious pleasure of not pulling away. My sweater hit the floor. His hands hovered at the clasp of my bra until I nodded, and when he opened it, he exhaled like the sight of me hurt in a way he wanted. He kissed my breasts slowly at first, then with heat, tongue and teeth and reverence, until my fingers twisted in his hair and my knees went unsteady. "Bed," I said. He stopped immediately. "Are you sure?" I almost laughed. It came out broken. "Yes, Drake, I'm sure." He lifted me only after I wrapped my arms around his neck. Even then, his strength stayed careful. He laid me down like I could still change my mind at any second. Maybe that was what undid me most. Knowing I could, knowing I would not. I reached for the button of his jeans. My fingers shook, but not from fear now. He watched me with his hands fisted in the blankets on either side of my hips, letting me decide how far this went. I pushed denim and briefs down together. No soft words rose in me then, no poetry. His dick was hard and heavy in my hand, hot with wanting me, and the blunt truth of it made something low in my belly clench. I was done being delicate with my own desire. Drake groaned, head bowing, but he did not thrust into my grip. He let me learn him again. Let me remember without being dragged under by the past. When he touched me between my thighs, he asked first. When he slid his fingers into me, he watched my face like consent was not a single door opened once, but a room he kept checking he was welcome inside. By the time he settled above me, I was shaking. Not because I was afraid, because I was not. "Tell me if anything hurts," he said. "You too." His expression twisted. "I mean it," I said. "I know." I guided him to me. The first slow push of him inside stole the air from both of us. We stopped there, joined and trembling, braced for ghosts. I stared at his mouth. No blood. His eyes searched mine, no pain. Then he sank deeper, and my body opened around him like it remembered a language my grief had tried to bury. "Rachel," he breathed. I wrapped my legs around his hips. Move. He did. Slow at first, careful, too careful, until I dug my nails into his back and whispered, "I won't break." His control snapped with a sound that made my whole body answer. He kissed me as he fucked me, deep and hard, and still somehow tender. One hand braced beside my head, the other tangled with mine against the sheets. Our bodies knew each other, not because fate commanded them, because we had loved in them before the curse made them a battlefield. Pleasure built sharp and bright, almost frightening in its purity. There was no shadow under it, no answering agony, no countdown to collapse, just heat, skin, breath. Drake alive above me. Me alive beneath him. When I came, it hit so hard I cried out against his mouth. He followed with my name torn from him, his body shaking as he held himself over me, like even in release he was afraid of crushing me. Afterward, the room went quiet except for our breathing. Then the tears came. I hated them for 1 second. Then I let them. Drake went rigid. Did I hurt you? No. I pressed both hands over my eyes, but the tears slipped through anyway. No, that's the problem. His voice gentled. Rachel. We could have had this, I whispered. We could have had years of this. Touching without checking for blood. Wanting without fear. Loving without someone turning it into a fucking weapon. He did not argue. He did not offer the useless comfort of saying it was all right, because it wasn't. Can I hold you? He asked. I dropped my hands and looked at him. Yes. He pulled me against him slowly, and I went. My cheek rested over his heart. It beat strong beneath my ear. Alive, alive, alive. For the first time in years, I fell asleep listening to Drake's heart without being afraid it would stop because of me. Morning came too soon. A scream cut through the compound just after dawn. Drake was out of bed before I fully opened my eyes. For one stupid, soft second, I saw him naked and sleep-rough, and mine in no way fate could define. Then another scream rose. Imani. We dressed without awkwardness, without regret. That mattered too. By the time we reached the infirmary, Kellen was convulsing so hard 2 healers had to hold the cot steady. Imani stood outside a chalk circle Mara had drawn on the floor, sobbing silently, her hands curled into fists at her sides. Blood ran from Kellen's nose and one ear. Drake stopped beside me, not in front of me, beside me. Mara looked up, eyes hard and furious. It accelerated. Why? I asked. Her gaze moved between Drake and me, not judging, understanding too much. The curse is hungry, she said, and now it knows you are no longer afraid to touch. My stomach clenched. Drake's hand flexed near mine but did not take it. I took his instead. Every wolf in that room saw it. Let them. I looked at Mara. Then tell us how to starve it for good. Drake's fingers closed around mine, steady and warm. This time, I was not his hidden mate, not his lost love, not the woman everyone blamed. I stood beside him because I chose to. And whatever waited beneath that house, whatever old evil had mistaken our love for food, was about to learn the difference between a sacrifice and a fight.
Rachel's hand closed around mine in the infirmary, and every wolf in that room saw it. Let them. For years, they had seen everything else. Her absence, my rage, the empty place beside their alpha, and the grief I wore like armor sharpened into cruelty. They had made a story out of the pieces I let them have. Rachel left. Rachel broke him. Rachel abandoned the pack. Rachel, Rachel, Rachel. Never the curse, never my bloodline, never me. Kellen convulsed on the cot, blood streaking from his nose to his jaw, while Imani stood on the other side of Mara's chalk circle, shaking so hard her breaths came in little broken pulls. Rachel did not let go of my hand. She looked at Mara and asked how to starve the thing feeding on him. Not how to run, not how to protect herself, how to fight. My wolf lowered his head inside me, not in submission. in shame. Mara pressed both palms over Kellen's chest and spoke a word that made the chalk flare silver. Kellen slammed down against the mattress, spine arching once before he went terrifyingly still. Imani cried out. "He breathes," Mara snapped, before panic could take the room. "Barely, but he breathes." The healers moved in quickly. Mason guided Imani back when she tried to cross the circle, his hands lifted so she could see he would not touch her unless she forced him to stop her. Rachel's fingers slipped from mine. I let them. Even that small release felt like a vow. Behind us, someone whispered. It got worse after she came back. The room froze. Rachel did not flinch. That made it worse. A flinch would have given me somewhere to put my anger. Her stillness only showed me how practiced she was at swallowing knives. Another voice muttered, first the alpha, now Kellen. My wolf surged so violently, my vision flashed gold. I turned. Every wolf near the doorway lowered their eyes, except one young male whose fear had made him stupid. "What did you say?" I asked. His throat bobbed. "Alpha, I only meant no." My voice cut through the infirmary. "Say it with your chest, if you are brave enough to bleed for it." Silence. Rachel's hand touched my wrist, not to stop me, to remind me I had another choice besides rage. I dragged in a breath through my teeth and tasted blood, sickness, chalk smoke, and fear. Old Drake would have used fear. Old Drake would have enjoyed it. I looked at the room full of my people and realized I was done ruling from the ugliest part of my grief. "Gather the pack," I said. Mason's gaze sharpened. Now. Now. Rachel looked at me then. I turned to her, not caring who watched. "I need to tell them the truth, but I won't put you beside me like proof. I won't make you stand there while they stare." Something moved across her face, too fast to name. Relief, maybe. Pain, definitely. "I'll stand where I want," she said. I nodded. "Always." The pack gathered in the main hall under old rafters and older secrets. They came half-dressed, worried, whispering. Warriors lined the walls. Healers stood near the doors. The council took their places near the front, Carrick among them, spine straight despite his cane, eyes cold enough to frost iron. Rachel stood near the left wall with Mara and Imani. Not behind me, not beside me as a possession, where she chose. I walked to the center of the hall alone. The whispers died. For one breath I saw them the way she must have seen them years ago. 100 faces waiting to judge a wound they never bothered to understand. My hands curled once, then opened. Most of you know Rachel Underwood as the woman who left your alpha. Her name moved through the room like a struck match. Rachel did not move. I kept my eyes on the pack. That story ends tonight. Carrick's cane tapped once. I ignored him. Rachel did not abandon me because she was cruel. She did not leave because she stopped loving me. She left because touching me was killing me. A ripple moved through the room. I let them feel it. I bled when she touched me. I weakened when she stayed near. The bond between us had been poisoned by a curse tied to my bloodline. A curse old enough that men in my family built traditions over it and called the rot sacred. Carrick's mouth tightened. Good. She believed she was the danger, I continued. She believed loving me was poison. So she did what none of you saw, and most of you would not have survived. My voice roughened. I did not hide it. She broke herself to keep me alive. Across the hall, Rachel's warm brown face stayed composed, but her eyes shone hard under the lantern light. I wanted to go to her. I stayed where I was. This was not a moment for me to hold her. It was a moment for me to finally stop making her carry my silence. She took the blame because grief needed a villain, And I let it. I let this pack whisper her name like a sin. I let you think her absence was betrayal because it was easier than admitting I had been saved by the woman I was mourning. Someone near the back lowered their head. Then another. Then another. If you need someone to blame, I said, voice dropping, blame the curse. Blame the Evers bloodline that carried it. Blame the ancestors who made bargains with things that should have been buried in the dark. Blame me for not speaking sooner. I looked over the crowd. But you will not blame Rachel again. The hall went silent enough to hear the fires crack. Then Carrick stepped forward. Touching speech, he said. Dangerously sentimental but touching. My wolf bared his teeth inside me. Carrick looked toward Rachel, not at me. The woman left. Whatever reason she wraps around it now, that fact remains. Alphas do not grow stronger by elevating those who abandon their place. The room tightened around the insult. My first instinct was to move between them. Rachel moved first. She stepped away from the wall, slow and steady. Mara did not stop her. Imani watched her like she was seeing a door open in a burning house. Rachel walked to the center of the hall and stopped a few feet from Carrick. I did not pull her back. I did not speak for her. She lifted her chin. I carried your alpha's life in one hand and my own heart in the other, she said. Do not speak to me like I am fragile because I chose the heavier burden. Carrick's eyes narrowed. Rachel was not done. I did not come back for your approval. I did not come back to be forgiven by men who were comfortable making me the monster in a story they never bothered to finish. Her voice held steady, each word sharp enough to draw blood. I came back because another woman is being taught to fear her own hands. I know what that does to a person. I know what it steals. And I will be damned before I stand aside and let it happen, because you think pride is more important than truth. A sound moved through the hall. Not a cheer, not yet. Something deeper, recognition, shame. Carrick leaned on his cane. Bold words from a woman with no place here. Rachel smiled then. It was not kind. My place is wherever I choose to stand. God help me, I loved her. Not because fate told me to, not because a bond pulled tight beneath my ribs. Because she stood in the middle of a room that had once devoured her name and made every wolf there remember she had teeth too. I looked at Carrick. You heard her. His gaze slid back to me, and for 1 second something ugly showed beneath his calm. Hatred, not disappointment, not concern. Hatred. Then Mara's voice cut from the doorway. Alpha. I turned. Her expression had gone grim. You need to see what is beneath your house. We moved through the lower corridors with Mason at my back, Rachel beside me, and Mara leading the way with a witchlight burning blue above her palm. Carrick tried to follow. I stopped without turning. No. I am a senior counsel, and I am Alpha. His silence followed us down the stairs. Beneath the pack house, below the stone cellar and old winter stores, Mara found a narrow crawl space hidden behind a wall of rotting wood. The air inside smelled wrong. Old blood, ash, elderwood. Rachel stopped so abruptly, my shoulder nearly brushed hers. That scent, she whispered. Mara's witchlight flared. The floor beneath the pack house was carved with markings, not ancient scratches worn thin by time. Fresh lines cut into stone, black ash pressed into the grooves, dried blood painted over symbols shaped like broken moons, and joined hands split down the center. My stomach turned. Mara crouched, touched the edge of one mark, and rubbed the residue between her fingers. This was renewed recently. Mason swore under his breath. Rachel stared at the markings, her arms wrapped around herself. But her voice did not shake. How recently? Mara looked up at me. Days, maybe less. The house seemed to breathe above us. My house, my pack, my bloodline. And under it all, someone had been feeding the thing that almost killed us. I looked at the wet shine of blood in the carved stone and felt my wolf go murderously still. The curse isn't just old, Rachel said. No, Mara answered. Someone alive is keeping it hungry. Above us the pack house creaked in the wind, or maybe something beneath it laughed.
The sound under the pack house did not come again. That almost made it worse. A laugh would have given us something to fight. Silence only left us staring at the fresh blood dried into old stone, at curse marks someone had carved beneath Drake's home while his people slept above it. Someone alive was keeping it hungry. And then my wolf moved. Not fully, not cleanly. She rose inside me like a limb waking after years of being crushed beneath weight. Pain flashed through my spine, sudden and hot, and I grabbed the nearest wall before my knees could give. Rachel. Drake's voice snapped toward me. He reached, then stopped himself halfway. That hurt more than if he had touched me. Not because he was wrong. Because he was finally learning. I'm okay, I lied. Mara's witchlight drifted closer, blue glow sharpening the angles of her face. No, you're not. My teeth clenched as another pulse moved under my skin. It wasn't the old bond pain. There was no invisible hook in my ribs, no echo of Drake's suffering. This was mine, deep, animal, furious. My wolf, I whispered. Mara crouched in front of me. She's trying to come back. Drake went very still. For years, my wolf had been a half-dead thing behind glass. Suppressants had smothered her. Severing magic had cut around her. Grief had taught her silence was safer than wanting. Now, she was awake enough to hurt. Why now? Mason asked. Mara looked at the markings. Because the curse has a scent, and Rachel's wolf remembers what her human mind was trained to ignore. Old blood. Ash. Elderwood. The smell crawled up from the carvings and settled on my tongue like smoke. I gagged. Drake's restraint broke by one step. Tell me what you need. The question steadied me more than his hands would have. Not, I'm taking you upstairs. Not, you're done. Not, I know best. Tell me. I looked at Mara. What if she's damaged? Mara's face softened, and somehow that almost pissed me off. I did not want pity. I wanted a guarantee no one could give me. She will be scarred, Mara said. That is not the same as broken. My throat tightened. And the only way to know if she is whole enough to survive this, Mara continued, is to let her shift. Drake's jaw flexed. I felt the words he did not say. I'll come with you. I'll keep you safe. I can't lose you again. But he swallowed them. When? I asked. Mara glanced toward the narrow cellar window where the night pressed black against the glass. Tonight, under the moon, no pack, no witnesses, no one else's fear muddying yours. Drake's eyes found mine. I can wait nearby, he said. Only if you want. I almost said yes because I was tired, because I was scared, because some soft part of me still wanted to put my hand in his and borrow his strength. Then my wolf shoved hard against my ribs. Not his, mine. No, I said. Drake took the blow without letting it show anywhere except his eyes. All right. I need to do it alone. He nodded once. Then I'll wait where you tell me to. The woods behind the eastern ridge had always felt like Drake's territory. That night, they felt like mine. The moon rode high between broken clouds, spilling silver over wet leaves and black branches. The air smelled of pine, cold earth, distant water, and underneath it all, the sour trace of the curse clinging to memory. Drake stopped at the edge of the tree line because I asked him to. Not because magic forced him, not because Mara stood nearby with a threat ready, because I said here. And he stopped. I turned back once. He stood with his hands loose at his sides, every inch of him screaming to follow, his wolf probably tearing bloody grooves inside his chest. But he did not take one step past the line. Don't come after me, I said. His voice was rough. I won't. Even if I scream. His eyes flashed gold. I watched that hurt land. Then I watched him choose me over his fear. Even then, he said, I walked into the woods before I could change my mind. Far enough that I could not see him anymore, I stripped out of my clothes and folded them beneath a cedar. The cold kissed my bare skin. My warm brown arms shone under the moonlight, goosebumps rising as my wolf pressed closer. For a second, fear tried to become a cage. What if she came back wrong? What if she did not come back at all? What if I had spent years cutting pieces from myself to save Drake, and there was not enough left to reclaim? My knees hit the damp earth. No, I whispered. My hands dug into the soil. I'm still here. The shift hit like a storm. Bone cracked, muscle pulled. My breath broke into a cry I did not swallow. It hurt. God, it hurt. But not like punishment, like birth, like something fighting its way out of a coffin. My spine arched, my fingers curled into claws. My vision sharpened until every leaf had edges, every drop of water on bark held moonlight, every sound split into meaning. Then the pain snapped, and my wolf stood beneath the trees, scarred, lean, shaking, alive. For one breath, neither of us moved, then she ran. Not away, never away, just ran. Through cedar and pine, over roots and stone, past the stream cutting silver through the dark. The world opened in scent and sound. Rabbit under brush, owl on high branch, Mason's patrol far south, Drake at the tree line, smoke and cedar and restraint, waiting exactly where I left him. No bond dragged me toward him. No fate hooked teeth into my throat. My wolf knew him, wanted him, chose to turn back. That difference split something open in me so wide the night poured through. When I returned to the clearing, my muscles burned and my lungs worked hard, but I was laughing inside my own skull. My wolf slowed near the cedar where my clothes waited, then lifted her nose. Old blood, ash, elderwood. Not from the earth this time. A remembered scent, a man in the hall, a cane striking stone. Cold eyes on me like I had no right to stand where I chose. Carrick, my wolf snarled. The shift back was easier, though not painless. I came to myself on my hands and knees, naked, shivering, hair tangled over my shoulders, mud streaked along my thighs and palms, human, whole. I dressed halfway before stopping. No, not hiding. I pulled on only my sweater, letting it fall to mid-thigh, and carried the rest of my clothes in one hand as I walked back. Drake was still at the tree line. Exactly where he promised. His head lifted when he heard me, and the look on his face nearly knocked the breath out of me. Relief came first, then awe, then hunger, fast and dark before he chained it down. I stepped out of the woods. I shifted, I said. His voice came low. I know. She's alive. His throat worked. I know. And you stayed. I said I would. Such a simple answer, such a devastating one. I walked toward him until only a few inches stood between us. His gaze stayed on my face even though my bare legs were muddy, even though the sweater had slipped off one shoulder, even though desire had already thickened the air. You can look at me, I said. His eyes dropped, slowly, with permission. The heat in them made my thighs clench. Rachel. My wolf came back, I whispered, and she wants you too. His breath left him hard. But not because you own us, I said. Not because fate tied us together, because I want your hands on me, because she wants your scent on our skin, because desire belongs to me now. Drake closed his eyes for half a second like the words hurt him. Or saved him. When he opened them, they burned gold. Tell me what I'm allowed to do. I smiled, and it felt wild on my mouth. Everything I ask for. Then I kissed him. This was not the careful kiss from before. This was teeth and tongue, and my hands dragging him down to me. Drake caught my waist, then froze until I said, yes. After that, his grip tightened, and God, I wanted that. Not ownership, not force, pressure, strength, the proof that he could want me hard and still listen. My back hit a tree, his hand sliding behind my head, before bark could scrape too deep. "Still good?" he asked, voice wrecked. "Still good." I reached between us and found him already hard, his dick thick beneath denim. He groaned into my mouth when I stroked him. "Fuck, Rachel." "Yes," I said. "That too." He laughed once, breathless and stunned, and the sound went straight through me. There was no bed, no firelight, no softness pretending we were not animals with human hearts. There was only wet earth, moonlight, my wolf awake inside me, and Drake dropping to his knees because I pushed on his shoulders and he let me lead. His mouth on me was hot and filthy and reverent all at once. I gripped his hair and did not apologize for the sounds I made. When my knees shook, he held my hips, looking up at me like being chosen had ruined him better than being fated ever had. By the time he stood, I was shaking for an entirely different reason. "Inside me," I said. "Here?" "Here." He searched my face.
"Rachel." I said here. That was enough. He opened his jeans, lifted me when I hooked my leg around his hip, and pushed into me slowly, despite the raw need trembling through him. We both gasped. No pain came.
No curse, no blood, just fullness and heat and the brutal joy of my body knowing exactly what it wanted. I moved first. Drake followed. He fucked me against that tree under the moon, hard enough to make me cling to him, careful enough that every time my breath changed, he checked my face. His control was not cold anymore. It was a gift he kept handing back to me. My wolf did not scream mine. She said yes. When I came, I bit his shoulder to keep from crying out loud enough to wake the whole damn ridge. Drake followed with my name in his mouth and his body shaking against mine. Afterward, he held me only because I held him first. For a while we stayed there, breathing hard, forehead to forehead, the night alive around us. Then the wind shifted. Old blood, ash, elderwood. My eyes opened. Drake felt me change. "What is it?" I looked toward the pack house. "That scent from the markings," I said. "I know where I smelled it before." His body went still. "Where?" My wolf rose behind my eyes, scarred and certain. "Carrick."
Carrick. Rachel's voice cut through the night, and everything in me went murderously still. For 1 second I saw nothing but his throat in my hand. My wolf rose hard, teeth bared, ready to tear through every old law that had ever protected that bastard. Carrick had stood in my hall, sat at my council table, watched Rachel carry blame that belonged to my bloodline, and said nothing. No, worse than nothing. He had fed it. Rachel stood in front of me under the trees, her hair wild around her face, her warm brown skin streaked with mud from the shift she had fought her way back to. Her wolf was awake behind her eyes, scarred and furious. She looked braced for disbelief. That gutted me. "I believe you," I said. Her breath caught. I hated that those 3 words still had the power to surprise her. Mason found us near the ridge 10 minutes later with 2 warriors at his back and blood on his sleeve that was not his. "Kellen's stabilized," he said. "Barely. Mara wants you both in the lower records room." "And Carrick?" I asked. "At the hall, acting offended that you barred him from the cellar." My hands flexed. Rachel saw it. "Drake." I looked at her. "If you kill him before we know what he's done, he dies with answers we need." "I know. You look like you don't." A harsh breath left me. "I want his blood on the floor." "I know that too." She stepped closer, not touching me, just there, choosing to stand near the worst of me without letting it lead. "That's why you don't get to be only rage right now," she said. God, she had no idea what those words did. Or maybe she did. I turned to Mason. "Lock the inner gates quietly. No alarms. No one leaves the compound without your eyes on them. Carrick is not to be touched unless he runs." Mason nodded. "And if he does? Then stop him breathing long enough to bring him to me." Rachel gave me a look. I met it. I said long enough. The lower records room had not been opened in years. It smelled of dust, old leather, candle wax, and rot hidden under polish. Mara stood at the central table with ledgers spread in front of her, witchlight hovering over the pages. Her mouth was set in a hard line. "This was buried under 3 false inventories," she said. "Carrick's hand is on all of them." I moved beside her. Rachel stood across from me, arms folded, gaze sharp. The first ledger listed Ever's alphas by bloodline. Beside each name was a mate. Beside some mates were dates. Deaths, disappearances, severings, madness. My stomach turned as I read faster. Alaric Evers. Mate vanished after first winter. Brennan Evers. Mate found in river. Bond sickness recorded as grief fever. Thomas Evers. Mate sealed in South Tower until death. My grandfather, my father, then me. Drake Evers Bond subject unstable after pairing with Rachel Underwood. Female resistant. Emotional attachment excessive. Drain response strong. My vision went gold at the edges. Rachel's face tightened, but she did not look away from the words. Mason swore softly. Subject. Mara pulled another sheet forward. Carrick has been tracking mate bonds in your line for decades, not creating the original curse, no. That was older, but maintaining it, renewing it, guiding who suffered and when. Her finger tapped the page. Yes. I read the next line. If a female leaves, alpha hardens. If a female remains, curse completes consumption. Either result strengthens leadership, provided grief is properly directed. For a moment I could not breathe. Rachel was silent. That was worse than any scream. I saw myself after she left. The way Carrick had stood behind me in council meetings. Voice calm while mine became a weapon. The way he praised every brutal decision. The way he called mercy softness and softness rot. I thought grief had made me cruel. It had, but men like Carrick had shaped that cruelty with steady hands. He wanted me broken, I said. Mara's voice was quiet. He wanted you emptied of anything that could make you choose love over power. The room tilted. I gripped the edge of the table hard enough to crack the old wood. Rachel came around it slowly. I shook my head once. Not at her, at myself. I became exactly what he wanted. No. The word snapped from her. I looked up. Rachel stood close enough now that I could smell the forest on her skin. Rain, wolf, smoke, life. No, she said again. You became a man in pain who was surrounded by people teaching him that pain was strength. That does not excuse what you did. I know. But it explains who benefited from it. That landed somewhere deep and ugly. I looked down at the records. My bloodline did this. My house. My name. How many women were buried under Ever's power because men before me wanted to call love a weakness? Rachel's expression shifted. Not pity. Never pity. Truth with hands strong enough to hold a blade. You do not have to answer for every man before you, she said. But you do have to decide what kind of man comes after them. The room went still around her words. I had been alpha since my father died. I had ruled. Punished, commanded, survived. But standing in that old room with my ancestors' sins spread open in ink and blood, I understood something I should have learned years ago. Power passed down without question was just debt wearing a crown. I reached for Rachel, then stopped with my hand between us. Can I? Her gaze dropped to my hand. Then she gave me hers. Not because I needed saving, because she chose to. Her fingers were warm, solid, real. I bowed my head over our joined hands and let the breath shake out of me. I'm sorry, I said. I know. I'm going to say it for the rest of my life. Good, she whispered. Just don't make it the only thing you do. A broken sound almost became a laugh in my chest. Then she leaned in and kissed me. Soft, brief. Not heat this time. Not hunger. Mercy. I took only what she gave. When he pulled back, I let her. Mason cleared his throat from the doorway, and the look on his face killed the fragile quiet. Alpha. I straightened. What? Imani is gone. Rachel's hand tightened around mine. The infirmary was chaos. Kellen was strapped to the cot, not by rope, but by Mara's silver-threaded binding spells, his body jerking hard enough to make the frame scream against the floor. Blood slicked his upper lip. His eyes were open but unfocused, gold drowning the whites. "Where is she?" I demanded. One of the healers shook so badly she could barely speak. "Elder Carrick said you ordered Imani moved to the East Ward. He had your seal." "My seal is locked in my study." Mason's face hardened. "Not anymore." Mara pressed both hands against Kellen's chest. The witchlight around her flared and guttered. "He's forcing the bond open from a distance," she said, using her panic to feed the drain. "If he completes it, Kellen dies," Rachel finished. Mara looked at her. "And Imani may not survive being used as the channel." Kellen's back arched off the bed. One word tore out of him, raw and inhuman. "Hollow." Rachel went still. So did I. The ritual hollow, the place where old rites had been performed before the Evers pack house was even built, the place my father had forbidden anyone to enter after my mother died. Of course, Carrick had not run. He had gone home to the original wound. I turned to Mason. "Gather every warrior who can move quietly. No horns, no pack-wide alarm. Carrick wants fear. Don't feed him more than he already has." Mason was gone before I finished. Rachel stared at Kellen, then at Mara. "He won't just need Imani." Mara's silence answered before she did. My blood chilled. "No," I said. Rachel turned to me. Carrick had tracked her, studied her, called her resistant, a woman who survived the curse. A woman who severed a poisoned bond and lived. A woman whose wolf had come back scarred and alive. "He needs me," she said. Every instinct in me roared against it. Lock her in a room, stand in front of her. Carry her away from every fucking thing that wanted her blood. Old Drake would have done it and called it love. I tasted that truth like poison. Rachel watched the war happen in my face. "Say it," she whispered. I forced the words out. "I want to stop you. I know. I want to command every wolf in this compound to keep you away from that hollow. I know." My voice dropped. "I won't." Her eyes shone, but she did not soften. "Then ask me what I'm going to do." "What are you going to do, Rachel?" She looked at Kellen fighting death on the cot, then toward the dark beyond the infirmary windows. "I'm going to make sure Imani doesn't learn what it feels like to be turned into a weapon against the man she loves. Not alone." "No," she said, but something in her tone cut wrong. Before I could name it, Mara shouted. Kellen's bindings snapped, and every wolf in the room lunged to hold him down. Power cracked through the infirmary, bitter with old blood and ash. For 3 minutes, the world became hands, spells, blood, and Kellen's dying breaths. When the surge passed, Rachel was gone. No bond warned me, no thread tugged behind my ribs, only silence. Human, brutal silence. I found her note pinned beneath my knife on the table outside the infirmary. "Drake, I am not running. I am choosing the battlefield." The paper crumpled in my fist. My wolf did not howl. He went quiet. Deadly quiet. Mason appeared at my side, warriors gathering behind him. "Alpha?" I looked toward the eastern woods, where the ritual hollow waited, where Carrick had taken Imani, where Rachel had walked willingly into a trap because no one knew better than her how to survive one. I would not punish her choice by calling it betrayal. I would not make her courage smaller because it terrified me. But I would follow, not to drag her back, not to claim what was never mine to own, to stand beside her when she opened the circle and make Carrick understand the difference between an alpha made by bloodline debt and a man chosen by the woman he loved. Move, I said, and this time my pack moved with me.
I woke up with dirt in my mouth and magic burning around my wrists. For one stupid, blessed second, I thought I was back in the woods after my shift, on my knees, naked under the moon, alive in a body that finally belonged to me again. Then the scent hit. Old blood, ash, elderwood, the ritual hollow. My eyes opened. Ancient stones rose around me in a broken circle, their surfaces carved with the same ugly symbols we had found beneath the pack house. Moonlight poured down through the trees, silver and cold, catching on lines of dried blood pressed into the earth. Imani was bound across from me, not with rope, with lightless magic wrapped around her throat, wrists and chest like hands. "Rachel?" she whispered. Her voice was cracked with terror. "I'm here," I said. "Kellen, he's alive." I did not know if that was true. I said it anyway because fear was what Carrick wanted, and I was done feeding old men what they wanted from women in pain. Imani trembled hard enough that the magic around her flickered. Somewhere far away, Kellen's agony tore through the night. Not a sound exactly, more like a wounded echo dragged across my bones. Imani sobbed. The circle brightened. "Stop," I told her softly. "Breathe. I can feel him dying." "No. You can feel someone using your love as a knife." A cane struck a stone. Carrick stepped out from between the trees. He no longer looked like a tired elder leaning on age. He stood straight now, eyes bright with something old and rotten. The cane in his hand gave off that same elderwood stink, sweet and bitter beneath the blood. "Still teaching others how to suffer with dignity," he said. "How touching." I pulled against the bindings. Pain lanced up my arms. My wolf slammed against my skin, furious, but the magic shoved her back. Carrick smiled like he felt it. "You really are remarkable," he said. "Severed once, broken open twice, suppressed for years, and still she crawls back." "She?" I asked. "Your wolf." His gaze travelled over me like I was a specimen on Mara's table. "Your kind always thinks the wolf is freedom. It is instinct. Instinct can be guided, twisted, starved. You would know." His smile thinned. "Good. I wanted him angry. Men like Carrick were careful when they felt powerful. They made mistakes when they felt insulted." "You are not the first woman to mistake defiance for strength," he said. "Ever's alphas have always been most useful after love has been cut from them." The air left my lungs. Carrick looked pleased. "Yes," he murmured, "you understand now. Love softens them, makes them hesitate, makes them ask instead of take." His mouth curled around the words like they tasted foul. "A grieving alpha is sharper, colder, easier to aim." Drake, my Drake after I left, his rage and his cruelty, his grief turned into a throne Carrick could stand behind. "You used him," I said. "I improved him." The bindings burned hotter as my wolf snarled inside me. Carrick lifted the cane toward Imani. "The young pair will restore what your return weakened. Their bond is new, open, fertile. But you—" His eyes returned to me. "You are the key. The curse remembers you. Your severed thread can be used to build a better channel. The bond is dead. Dead things have bones." The earth beneath me pulsed. Something reached into my chest. I froze. Not because it hurt, because I remembered. The old bond had been a living wire under my ribs. Beautiful once, then poisoned, then unbearable. This magic searched for it with greedy fingers, digging through scar and memory, trying to find a thread it could twist back toward Drake. It found silence. Deep. Wide. Mine. Carrick's brow tightened. I laughed once, breathless and sharp. His face darkened. What is amusing? You keep reaching for something that isn't there. His cane slammed down. Pain cracked through the circle. Imani screamed. Kellen's distant echo answered, weaker this time. Then the trees exploded with movement. Drake came out of the dark like judgment. Mason was behind him. Warriors fanned through the woods, eyes burning gold. Mara stood at the edge of the hollow, witchlight blazing in her hands. Drake took one step toward me. The circle flared. Blood ran from his nose. "Stop!" I shouted. He froze. Every muscle in his body fought him. But he stopped. Carrick laughed. There he is, still leashed by her voice. Drake did not look at him. He looked at me. "What do you need?" he asked. The question hit harder than the magic. Not "I'll save you." Not "I'm coming in. What do you need?" My throat tightened. "Trust me," I said. His answer came without hesitation. "Always." Carrick's smile vanished. The curse surged. This time I did not fight it the way it expected. I stopped pulling against the bindings. I stopped bracing for the old pain. I stopped looking for a bond that fate had already taken back. The silence inside me was not emptiness. It was a room to breathe, room to choose, the room no curse had permission to enter. My wolf rose slowly behind my eyes, scarred and beautiful. I looked at Imani. "Pull back." She shook her head. "If I let go, he'll think I abandoned him." "No," I said. "Loving him does not mean letting someone gut you open." Her tears spilled freely now, but she listened. "Your love belongs to you," I told her. "Take it back from Carrick. Not from Kellen, from him." Imani closed her eyes. Carrick lunged forward. "Do not—" Too late. The magic around Imani flickered. Kellen's echo broke, then steadied. I turned my wrists inward and let my claws come. The binding split skin, but I did not scream. I cut through the dark magic like it was rope. My hands came free, slick with blood, and the circle shuddered. Carrick swung the cane at my head. I caught it. The Underwood burned my palms, but I held on. Up close, I saw the truth carved into it. Tiny runes filled with old blood. His anchor. His pretty little leash on a curse he thought he controlled. I smiled. Then I snapped the cane over my knee. Carrick screamed. The circle cracked. "Drake," I said. He moved. This time the magic did not throw him back. He crossed the broken line and came to me, not in front of me, beside me. Carrick staggered toward the central marking, hands shaking. "You foolish girl. You think choice is stronger than blood?" "No," I said. Drake's claws slid free. "I know it is," he finished. Carrick raised both hands, and the earth opened black beneath the main sigil. The curse rose like smoke, thick and starving, faces twisting inside it. Women forgotten. Alphas hollowed, bonds turned to rot. Drake cut his palm with one claw and pressed his blood to the Evers mark. I pressed my bleeding hand beside his. Not bound by fate, not forced by pain. Choosing the same fight. The curse shrieked. The stone split. Carrick fell to his knees as every marking he had fed for decades lit across the ground and then burned out, one by one. His mouth opened, but no command came. The smoke wrapped around him like it recognized its keeper. For the first time, Carrick looked afraid. Then the moonlight struck the hollow. Everything went silent, not empty. Holy. A voice moved through the trees, soft enough to be a whisper and vast enough to bend every wolf to stillness. What was severed cannot be restored. Pain went through me, clean pain, grief without poison. Drake's hand twitched near mine, but he did not grab me. The voice continued. Fate chose once, and men made a weapon of it. I will not force what must now be freely given. Moonlight gathered between us. Warm. Waiting. Love remains. If you enter, enter by choice. If you leave, leave unchained. Drake turned to me, then he lowered himself to one knee. Not as an alpha, not as a man claiming what belonged to him. As Drake. Would you choose me, Rachel? His voice shook, and he let it. Not because fate demands it, Not because your wolf aches for mine. Not because I am your alpha. His golden eyes held mine. Choose me only if you want me. My wolf stood quiet inside me. No screaming, no command, just peace. I already did, I whispered. I just needed to be free enough to know it. He breathed my name like it hurt and healed at the same time. I held out my hand. He took it only after I gave it. The chosen bond did not snap, it did not burn, it settled, soft as a promise, warm as breath under blankets. Steady as a hand that knew how to let go. Behind us, Imani gasped, and somewhere beyond the hollow, a wolf howled weakly but alive. Mara rushed into the circle. Mason's warriors closed around Carrick's broken body. The curse markings lay dead under the moon. Drake looked at me like I was not his fate, like I was his answer, and when I let go of his hand to help Imani, he let me. Drake did not follow when I moved toward Imani. That was how I knew the bond was different. The old one would have pulled, demanded, clawed. It would have made every inch of distance feel like punishment. This new thing only warmed beneath my ribs, steady and quiet, letting me cross the broken circle on my own 2 feet. Imani collapsed into my arms the second the magic released her. "I've got you," I whispered. She shook so hard her teeth clicked together. "Kellen? Alive!" Mara called from the edge of the hollow. Her hands were pressed to the earth, witchlight spilling through the dead markings like water through ash. "Weak, but alive!" Imani sobbed then. Not pretty, not soft, a ripped open sound. I held her tighter and let her make it. Across the hollow, Carrick lay twisted near the split stones, still breathing because Mara had wrapped him in enough binding magic to choke a god. His eyes were open, furious, afraid, good. Let him live long enough to watch everything he tried to preserve turn to dust. Drake stood a few feet away, blood drying at his nose, his hand still bleeding from where he had cut it over the Evers mark. His gaze kept finding me and leaving again, as if he was reminding himself he did not get to hold me just because he wanted to. "Rachel," he said softly. I looked at him. His voice roughened. "Are you hurt?" "Yes." His jaw tightened. "But not broken," I said. Something in his face cracked. He nodded once and stayed where he was. By dawn, Kellen had been brought to the hollow wrapped in blankets, half conscious and shaking. Imani crawled to him the second Mara allowed it. Every wolf there held their breath when her fingers touched his face. No blood came, no tremor tore through him. Kellen opened his eyes and whispered her name like it was the only word he had left. Imani laughed through her tears and pressed her forehead to his. The curse was broken, not quiet, not sleeping. Broken. The pack did not celebrate at first. Truth was heavier than victory. They gathered in the hall beneath the same rafters that had watched them blame me, pity Drake, obey Carrick, and call old cruelty tradition. Carrick was dragged in bound with silver-threaded spells, his mouth sealed by Mara's magic. For once, the elder had no speech ready. Drake stood before them alone. He did not pull me to his side. He did not announce me first. He gave me the choice of where to stand. So I stood near Mara, close enough to be seen and far enough to be no one's ornament. "Carrick maintained the curse," Drake said, "but he did not act alone in spirit. He survived because this pack trusted age more than truth, because I trusted obedience more than questions." The room went silent. His eyes moved over them, gold and brutal. Rachel Underwood was never the curse. She was never the weakness in my bloodline. She was the woman who survived what my bloodline did to her. My throat tightened. Drake looked at me then, but he did not soften the words for the room. "You blamed her because it was easier than asking why an alpha could not touch his mate without dying. You called her cruel because you did not want to know what saving me cost her." Someone in the crowd began to lower their head. I lifted my chin. "Don't." The woman froze. "I don't want worship because you ran out of blame," I said. My voice carried farther than I expected. "If you owe me anything, let it be honesty. Let it be change." No one spoke. Then Kellen, still seated with Imani beside him, pushed himself upright. "She saved us," he rasped. Imani gripped his hand. Both of us. That was when the room shifted. Not perfectly. Not magically. But enough. Later, when the hall emptied and Carrick was taken below to answer for every name in those ledgers, Drake found me outside the guest cabin. He stopped several feet away. The chosen bond warmed between us, gentle as firelight. It did not drag me toward him. It did not punish me for staying still. "I had rooms prepared in the house," he said, "and the cabin is yours as long as you want it. Or if you want to leave Briar Glen tonight, Mason will make sure no one stops you." I stared at him. He swallowed. "A bond is not a cage, not this time. If you want to leave, I will not stop you." There it was. The thing I had needed before the moonlight, before the vow, before any promise could mean anything. Drake letting the door stay open. I stepped closer. "I'm staying," I said. His breath caught. But not as a shadow, not as a symbol for the pack to use when they need forgiveness. I'm not ready to be Luna the way they remember it.
"Then you won't be. I'll learn them on my terms. I'll help where I choose. I'll challenge you when you need it." His mouth curved, small and wrecked. So every day. Most days. A laugh broke out of him, quiet and disbelieving. I touched his chest with one hand. "And if I stay in your house, Drake, it is because we build something there that belongs to both of us." He covered my hand only after I let it rest there. "Then we build it slowly," he said. The ceremony happened that night under the moon. Not a claiming, no teeth at my throat, no ancient words that made me smaller so he could stand taller. Mara drew a circle in moon water instead of blood, and we stepped inside it from opposite sides. I wore a simple white dress that made my brown skin glow under the silver light. My coiled hair was pinned back with tiny blue flowers Imani had insisted on weaving through it, even though her hands still shook. Drake looked at me like he was trying to memorize freedom. When the pack quieted, he turned toward them. "This is Rachel Underwood," he said, voice carrying through the clearing. "My chosen mate, my equal, my heart." The words moved through me like warmth, not command, not ownership. Vow. Then he faced me. "I choose you," he said, "when you stand beside me, when you stand against me, when you stay, when you need distance. I choose you without chains." My eyes burned. "I choose you," I answered. Not because fate left me no other road. Not because pain taught me I had to bleed to prove love. I choose you because I am free, and my free heart wants yours. The chosen bond hummed, soft, bright, ours. Afterward, when the pack celebrated with fires and music and cautious hope, Drake leaned close and asked, "Where do you want to go?" I looked toward the pack house, then back at him. "Home," I said. "For tonight, your room. After that, we decide what ours looks like." He offered his hand. I took it. In his room, he paused at the threshold and let me walk in first. That almost undid me more than the ceremony. The fire was lit low, the bed was turned down, nothing extravagant, nothing staged, just warmth, quiet, and a man who stood behind me waiting for permission to come closer. I turned. "Touch me." His hands came to my waist, slow and reverent. "Here?" "Yes." His fingers tightened. "More?" I smiled. "Drake." His eyes darkened. "Take the dress off." He did. Carefully at first, then not so carefully when I laughed and pulled his mouth down to mine. The sound startled both of us. Laughter. In this room, between our bodies. No curse answered, no blood, no fear. He kissed my shoulder, my throat, the curve of my breast. I pushed his shirt off and ran my hands over every hard line of him, not checking for wounds this time. Just touching because I could. When he laid me on the bed, he hovered over me with his weight braced on his arms. "Still free," he whispered. I wrapped my legs around his hips. Completely. His control snapped with a groan. Not cruelly. Beautifully. He kissed me deep, and I opened for him, for the heat of him, for the familiar shape of us made new.
When he pushed inside me, slow and thick and shaking, neither of us braced. We both just breathed. Then I laughed again, breathless, tears slipping hot into my hair. Drake froze. "Rachel?" "No pain," I whispered. His forehead dropped to mine. "No pain?" We moved like people learning joy after years of surviving grief. Slow, then harder when I asked. Tender, then filthy when his control frayed, and I begged him not to hold back so much. The chosen bond glowed under every kiss, every thrust, every whispered yes, but it never commanded. It witnessed. That was all. When I came, it rolled through me warm and deep, my nails digging into his back as his name broke from my mouth. Drake followed with a harsh sound against my neck, his body trembling over mine like being loved had finally become safe. After, he did not pull me close. He asked, "Can I hold you?" I answered by dragging him down onto me. Morning came without dread. I woke up with Drake's arm loose around my waist, not trapping me. Sunlight warmed the sheets. My wolf stretched inside me, content and scarred and alive. For the first time, I did not measure freedom by distance. I measured it by choice. A knock sounded at the door. Drake sighed into my shoulder. "If that is Mason, I'm demoting him." "It's Mason," I said, already smiling. From the other side of the door, Mason called, "Alpha, Rachel, we have messages from 3 packs about bond sickness." Drake lifted his head. I felt the chosen bond stir, quiet and ready, not pulling, asking. I looked at the door, then at the man beside me. "Well," I said, "I guess we're not done yet."
I gave you a home inside my chest. Now every breath feels like theft. You carved your name into my veins, then walked away like it meant nothing. Tell me why I still reach for you. Tell me, like a fool touching fire, even knowing it burns me through. Come back, or take this heart with you, please, 'cause I don't know how to live without your shadow. You left your ghost in everything I do, and I'm still loving you when I shouldn't. I try to hate you, God, I tried, but your memory won't let me lie. Even silence screams your name. Even healing feels like pain.